it came out of the box and he wanted to throw it against the wall.
Wow.
He didn't shut up. Like, it was like 2 a.m. and I was like, what? This is what it is to have a Furby? No, I cannot deal with you.
Okay.
We're actually ready and live
You were
without
ready
sound.
a week ago.
Did I arrive a week ago?
Yeah, you were just touring by.
Chilling.
I was somewhere else in the world on Sunday and Monday.
We have to talk. We have to talk.
I'll even show you when we sung.
Where were you?
You heard Lake Powell.
Where?
Lake Powell.
Oh, nice.
We sunk our boats.
In London?
Really? No way.
Big huge storm.
No.
It's alright. I mean, yeah, sure, but it's. I
No
was glad to
way.
get here. I'm like,
Oh my
that was the
God.
most exhausting vacation.
Wow.
It's not business.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
We are ready to rock and roll. Okay, shall we? Okay, so today we had an amazing conversation, just like the amazing conversations we had yesterday. And just to put you in context, at the U4U, we believe that students are gonna, they're the ones that are gonna solve a lot of issues in our world. And sometimes I don't even know if students understand that when they choose a career, when they choose their university, we're really expecting them, we're basically gonna give them the world, and we're expecting them that they go to the university and prepare themselves for all the issues that we have to solve in this world, which there are quite a few. And when we talk with these students, we come up with a lot of listening sustainability and everyone wants to be sustainable, and people talk about water and poverty, and now a lot of universities are bringing up programs such as social entrepreneurship, and it's everything about sustainability. So that's the topic today, creating social communities. And the first question, just so we can run up and understand what we're talking about, is for you, Kenneth. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready for this? Okay, so what is sustainability and what are the pillars?
All right. Well, sustainability is the capacity for all of us to be participants in a world where the resources they don't exist in infinitum, right? They will temporarily be there, but then they'll be gone. And so it's about working towards that idea that we can promote and provide a sustainable environment in multiple areas. And then we address what are the three pillars, because I think that's what we want to talk about a little bit. So the three pillars of sustainability, at least identified right now, are environmental. They're also in the social arena and the economics sustainability. So in that economic sense is when you address like poverty, how can we sustain a world where everybody has a viable chance and option to be able to be involved in the economy of the world, from the most poor to the most wealthy? How is everybody going to be involved to provide that level of equity and access to markets and to money and to opportunity, right? Environmental has been addressed a lot recently, is the idea that our environment is also something that we have to protect, because without our world, we can't be here, right? And so the idea is, how do we take care of our world? What does that look like? What practices do we need to implement? And what practice do we need to look and recognize as not using it anymore? And the last on that pillar is the social, which you mentioned is a newer one that's come out, is the social sustainability. Because the most valuable resource in the world, most people often overlook, is the human mind, right? And if that human mind is not well, or if the mental health of our communities is not well, then that becomes a problem. So when you talk about sustainability in the social sense, we're talking about health, access to equity and education, access to community involvement and organizations. So all those play into the idea of sustainability.
Actually, I love that this question was given to you.
Why is that?
I'm not sure if this was planned, but I love it because you come from the US, where a lot of people believe that that there's already a plan and that it's already very sustainable. And you've seen like both worlds, because you're also a lot in Guatemala,
Right.
and doing sustainable programs there.
Correct.
How can you, coming from the US, coming from, and we're going to talk about privilege later, but coming from the US, and going into Latin America, how can a person, and that's our students have to also think about, like, where do I start? Like, there's so many things that we have to tackle. You as an outsider, right? Like as an American overlooking Latin America, where do we start? Like, with all this sustainability and being so broad, how can a student even think, like, how can I be a part of this?
It's a great question. I can't speak for all of the United States, of course, but I would say the first thing you should do is to look at the mistakes that we as a country have acknowledged that we've done incorrectly, perhaps in correcting the environment or trying to work better to preserve the environment. In the economic sense, there is a lot of opportunity in the United States, but there's also a lot of income disparity. And so while in some degrees people go to try to better their lives, right, in immigration, sometimes those lives aren't any better than where they were. And then on the social sense, as far as mental health, access to education, I don't know that we're any better than anywhere else. So where does a student, if you're asking it from that perspective, where would they jump in? I would say to not minimize the power of why not. Why not me? Why not now? If not, I don't know who said this, I don't remember, maybe one of you guys do, but it's if not me, who, and if not now, when?
Yeah.
And so don't diminish the capacity that one has to simply think different. You mentioned my work a little bit in Guatemala, and it's really, why not me? No one else is going now. So it's about, you have a great impact. And there are a couple of philosophers now in the United States that have come out and just said, don't underestimate the value of each of you. Because in the mental health sense, some of us, we get to the point where we're like, I'm not really worth it. What am I going to do? I'm one person in 6-7 billion, but every one of us, have value and we have something to contribute.
Totally, and it's very connected to our philosophy that we are changing the world one student at a time.
Correct.
Yeah, I love that. Before it was like, when you went to university, it was, oh, I have to be in a big company or in politics to do something of value for the world. And now we can actually, but we have to believe it. We have to really believe it. My next question is for you, Jalan. What are sustainable people and communities?
Well, sustainable people and communities basically, from my understanding, is the people, community who's engaging ways of sustainable development and sustainability of our society with three pillars like economics, society, and also social, and also our environmental aspects of our life. So, like for example, when we see a couple of things, like a student, when we see that people using how to recycle our waste, what should we be careful of, and there's people actively engaging on this, and then that's what we call this the people of the who's actually sustainable people. So basically engaging with the sustainable activities in the different aspects.
And every time I talk about Queen's University, it's like I always have the same story. And yesterday we already spoke about it. But I have this student, Paola, which is a star. Like, she's amazing. And she's now staying in the UK. So it's one of those brains that left Panama, but it's okay. It's okay. We can share that. Sharing is caring. And she is working in sustainability from an architecture point of view because she's doing research on how to create girl-friendly city spaces for girls to have, to feel more independent but safe, and that's also part of sustainability.
Yes, correct, 100%. Because when we talk about sustainability, people always probably get thinking the first thing is about environmental. Is this the only thing? But it's actually not. Like, you have conducted a lot of research with academics, like our society, government, putting a lot of resources into the research to develop the sustainable economy and sustainable environment for the different people and sustainable society. Like you mentioned about a well-being, about different. So we need to care about the people as well, and how we can keep putting our energy, but not actually keeping up our energy. We can drag our energy to somewhere else, but still we have to recharge ourselves, and that's being sustainable as well. So, when we talk when we talk about architecture student you mentioned earlier, I was talking to him in another story. When a program we delivered, it's actually particularly on the architecture program as well. So our teachers ask students to use the reusable materials
when they're building their own portfolios. They're putting the small architects and so they have to use cardboards, they have to use the papers, and then to create their own portfolio instead of purchasing the new materials and causing the extra waste or causing the extra money. And that's how they are engaging. And from the universities, and I know a lot of universities, actually academics, they are involving in this. It's kind of like conducting their research, and then no matter in which area, take for example civil engineering as an example, or mechanical engineering, how they can reduce the carbon footprint for aerospace engineering as well. And that's how it's engaging, and how look at from the university's point of view, from the more broader context, how they can support the small startup business, small medium companies to make our society's economics more sustainable instead of only relying on the big industries. So for some certain countries, they probably only have income for tourism industry, but is this what we want? No. We want a more broader context. We want manufacturing, we want engineering, we want a different type of financial technology. So we want all aspects so we can survive with our economy if a certain sector collapses.
Yeah, totally.
And that's about.
And we need students to, being out there, understanding the problems. Yesterday I was leading a student panel, and I was asking students, like, what are the problems you're going to be solving in the world? And we get stuck to the same problems: poverty, water, racism. And the problems you see in your world are, your world is the world you live, like the things that you can see. And there's so many things that we can definitely address. Stephanie, you are here representing Oregon State University, which I truly believe is one of the universities that are really into sustainable. Like when I learned that part of the energy,
the renewable energy.
yeah, it was. They're really into renewable energy, even creating energy in the gym.
Yes.
And there's other ways that they're working into sustainability. So your question is, how can a university contribute to creating sustainable communities?
Okay, there are different factors that are involved in the creating sustainability, and one that I think it's really important is to understand that at the end of the day, sustainability is not only about the climate change, the renewable energies and everything, but also what John was mentioning, like is the whole society itself, like how to create a better environment for all of us. And one of the things that the university does a lot is to encourage the students being part of this type of research programs that involve from the environmental side till the computer science and everything that nowadays is involved in our daily basis at the end of the day. But also it's really important to create leaders. It's making the students somehow believe, as you said, like if it's not me, who else would do it? And if you believe on what you're going to do, you become a leader, and that will help you to consider different problems on the world, that how can you address them potentially. So it's really good. Obviously, as you mentioned, Oregon is one of the universities that is really focused on research. We are Tier 1 research university at the end of the day, and our projects are mainly direct to the environmental situations that we can face nowadays. So majority of our projects in sustainability are focused on that matter, but there are other factors to consider, and becoming leaders is one of them at the end of the day, and making our students being part of that type of projects, even if you are a student, I don't know, business, for example. How can you be part of this type of research programs or research activities that the university is developing? So
yeah, even with the textile, there's a lot of research going with sport brands.
yeah.
In fashion is one of the industries
yeah.
that create more waste. That's crazy. And I know there's a whole movement of, trying to reduce fast fashion. We're going more local, but the research that students are undergoing at OSU with brands like Nike, it's great. It's great. Awesome. And well, let's talk about privilege, because it's very funny us here talking about being sustainable. We all have, clothes that probably they're fast fashion.
Yes.
most probably. We're here with air conditioner, we have a home, we have water, access to all our basic necessities,
Necessities, yeah.
pretty, and much more. So I really want to stop and talk about privilege. How would I recognize my privilege to promote social and community sustainability? How can I do this?
Okay, so this is very important. I mean, to create a social and responsible environment is very important for us, and you have to be like in a good position to help the society. So you have to be aware, like when do you stop taking care of yourself and the people that is around you. So you help, like if you join a club or organization and you start helping the society, but you have to look for yourself first before helping someone else. So this is where you have to be very conscious and aware and create awareness about that you become first, then the society, but to be able to help more people, you have to take care of yourself first.
Yeah, and the other thing I see is, like, we don't have to not have in order to feel what other people need. Like, when we talk about privilege, and, I feel that sometimes in my community, there's inverse classism. Like, like sometimes we feel that the people that have, it's like something bad. It's something bad, but actually, how can I help other communities from my privilege? And it's hard to say, to walk in the shoes of other people. But that's why to solve a problem, you need both sides of the coin. How can students that are studying abroad, they mostly don't have don't have these problems that we're talking about, the lack of sustainability, even though we all live in the same world, even though if there's no water, we all have the problem, even though, at the end, all the problems will affect everyone. But what do you think students should be doing in order to be able to connect to those problems and understanding what they will be solving in the world?
Okay, yeah, in John Cabot University we have clubs and organizations where the students can join to the organizations, and we like to create awareness. So every week there is a club called Grassroots where they do cleanups every week, and then twice per semester they donate clothes for the local people. We try to create a relationship like between the students and the local people, so you can get involved with the community, with the local community. So I think that makes the student more aware about the local problems, and John Cabot is a very international university, so you have to be open to know more cultures, more social problems, different social problems other countries have. And that's how we think that the students can get involved through the clubs and organizations.
Right. And Enrique, last but not least, I think Canada is like a reference of sustainability. Maybe it's just marketing. Maybe.
Yes, a little bit, yes. But yeah.
Maybe we can either debate that here or just leave it for another day. We know that sustainable communities support solving the big crisis of the world. We already mentioned them: poverty, climate change, water problems. What issues do you believe we should be addressing in LATAM? And you, as a person that works for a Canadian university, has lived in Canada, and is from Latin America, I think like you are the person to answer this question.
That's a good question. I cannot talk, same as Canada, on behalf of Canada, because I am not Canadian. I can talk about, Simon Fraser University is always, it has always been considered one of the top ranked universities related to sustainable communities and sustainable cities. Being in Vancouver, Vancouver is like, for many, many years has been also considered one of the model cities in the world regarding sustainable communities, urbanism, how the city has been developed, obviously. We have to acknowledge all the First Nations that have, their territories and all that kind of stuff. Talking about Latin America and talking about privileges, I have been lucky to visit, have visited pretty much all Latin American countries so far. And, talking about the social part of the pillars of the sustainability, I would say maybe inequality, like like wealth distribution. Yes, we come from very rich countries where the wealth is always in the hands of so few people. Also, like the strong institutions, peace and justice. We all know, I don't have to tell anyone from Colombia, from Mexico, from Panama, from Venezuela, from Guatemala, all the problems that we have had about justice, the institutions, peace, all that kind of stuff. I think, yes, education, as we are all part of the education world, is, I would say, is very, very important, but it's not like a magic cure that will solve all the issues until we get, we tackle inequality, we tackle the problem with justice, peace, strong institutions again, where people can access, to all this stuff that first world countries, I would call them, all of them first world, because sometimes, they suffer the same thing as here in Latin America we have, we suffer. It's just in a different way. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would say that kind of stuff, like inequality, so people can access, because, we have one of the largest First Nations or indigenous communities, or how we call it in Mexico, pueblos originarios communities that have been marginalized, that have been rejected by a long time or forgotten by a long, long time. So yeah, coming from a country, from an area where we have a very big Maya community, I've seen, the quality or the inequality is big. It's not, has been the same thing for all the people living in the same space, and obviously peace, being Mexican, living in this situation that you probably know about Mexico, which is not everywhere, but is persuasive, like it's over there, it's there in the country, where people have to leave their houses, leave their homes, leave their country because of this situation. So yes, I would say that, like peace, justice, strong institutions, and inequality, for sure.
Okay. And my mom always said it's better to say sorry than to ask for permission. Yes. So I'm gonna do a question that it was not supposed to be done, because we do not want to focus this on university conversation, but I'm not gonna do it because I'm a rebel. So I hear all you guys with these amazing answers, and then putting it back to the student. Like, this sounds big, it's like, it sounds so big that sometimes it's too much. And even though the world is now into a point, for philosophers and strong people saying, we can change the world one person at a time, how can our students get prepared, get empowered, and how are universities really helping them with this transition on all the things they're going to address? Because this generation that will receive the world with all the problems that we are leaving, right? That we are giving to them, they have a lot of anxiety too. So how are your institutions preparing our students to understand all this concept of sustainability and all the problems they have to solve, and really, just helping them transition to life? Who takes it?
I want to recall something that Anna said, and first of all, is being those issues exist. Because, as Enrique was mentioning, we tend to ignore it. Our countries in Latin America ignore them completely. So, if you're conscious of it, you at least have a notion of what could potentially be done. Now you need the tools. What are the universities, in this case, any of our institutions, could provide you, which type of tools, research programs, research projects, programs themselves, like, I don't know, like with Oregon, for example, we have renewable energy programs, we have agriculture programs, so we have lots of programs that are going to be part of solving one portion of the whole issues that we have, but we are providing you with the tools, with the knowledge, and how to approach them, probably address them, and support you with all the tools in terms of technologies or whatever is needed in order to be able to potentially solve that. But as well, as I was mentioning, giving those tools in terms of soft skills that we need to develop as a person, like the critical thinking, how to develop that critical thinking as a potential student, as a potential person that wants to be involved in X or Y research program to tackle any of the issues that we are facing in the world right now, are the type of tools and tools and resources that the university itself is going to provide you to potentially get there and solve that.
And not starting when you're done with college, but actually getting empowered and starting
right.
since day one. Yeah, I mean, I have students doing amazing things in school. Like when I talk to students, and I listen on one side, the parents saying, well, he or she is too immature to make the decision on where to go or even to study abroad. And then I talk to the student, and they're like, they have all these plans. They see the world like, with pureness. It's amazing that, for them to have that opportunity and those tools available to tackle them with that pureness that they can see. Anyone wants to add something else?
Sure, I'd like to add that any of our universities offer the opportunities, as was mentioned, for clubs and participation. And I think what we try to do, but I would hope that most universities do that, is to embrace the other, to go out and find those that don't think like you, not necessarily that don't look like you, but don't think like you, have different points of view, and understand why. It doesn't mean you have to agree, but understand how did they get to that place? Why are they thinking this way? As we see, I can't speak for the world, but a lot of times the world is very divided in different parts as I've traveled. And the challenge is just embracing what is it and why do they think that way, to appreciate that so you can better relate with those people or with those groups or with that ideology or philosophy or theology. Because in the end, as we see most of our problems in our world, we didn't talk about it. The ones that are causing us the most grief are just based on ideologies, right? And so if we can have a greater impact on students who are thinking about a university, I would say I challenge you to join a club or two that aren't within your comfort zone, just to go out and explore, understand why different people think different ways. That will certainly enhance your skill set when you're out in the world.
And that's actually like the greatest thing that studying abroad brings. It's not the program, it's not the degree, it's the experience, it's the connecting with other cultures. It's being able, if you want to come back to your country, being able to see the world from a different perspective, because you learned another culture. Even for language, like when I have students coming just to buy a language program, it's not learning a new language, it's learning a new way of thinking, new perspective, new everything, and that's what study abroad really brings. It's a whole package, a whole package that I wish everyone could live, at least for a month. Like, even if I'm too anxious to go for my whole degree program, even for a month, like it's just a change of mindset. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Guys, thank you so much for this conversation. And with this, we really want to bring real conversations for students. Like, students, they all go to the internet, they check what's the best university to study my degree, what's the best place to study. They get in love with a country, but I really feel that we have to level up those conversations and students are ready. They're ready to take the world. They're ready to take big world issues. They will be the ones solving these issues. So my world is in their hands. And I want them to have a lot of information and be empowered. So thank you very much. And
Thank you.
yeah, thanks.